Welcome back to another episode of the Fruitful 3 Show.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. The podcast where we dig into real conversation that brings you insight. And today, we're going to talk about value, the importance of value, and a little extra happiness, and hopefully bring a little extra happiness in your day. We're your hosts, Isaiah and Levi, and today, we're breaking down the meaning of value, which I've already gone over. What it is, how it differs from person to person, and how understanding it can help you live a more fulfilled life. So let's get started.
But first, Isaiah's got some merch to talk about.
Yes, I have some merch. Bring fulfillment and happiness into your everyday style with Iced Entertainment Drip, or, our multiple sources of drip. Our cotton-based apparel is eco-friendly, comfortable, and designed to recognize you or to energize you while adding value to your life. Check out the collection today at iceentertainment.net/drip and wear what inspires you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before I get carried away, right now the EU and US are having like a trade war or something like that. And so some of my products, like t-shirts especially, are out of stock, because they come from the EU. I did get an email today saying that they were starting to resume and everything. And so, hoodies are pretty much what I have, and stocking caps and hats and stuff. It's still on there, and shorts, I believe, are still on there. So yeah, if you're interested in that, it has made me release a week early or 2 weeks early. No, yeah. I'm gonna release some hoodies, like 2 or 3 designs of hoodies based off of the new logo. So yeah, you can still get those. Just t-shirts, questionable. I haven't checked it out lately. I know they resumed today, so be cautious about that, and we'll get it solved here shortly. So while we are going through our stuff, I want you to ask yourself, what does value mean to you? What value do you bring to your household, to your family, household family, to your friends, to your business, to your life, to everyone that's around you? Reflect on what your heart truly desires. Reflect on your deepest desires. Are they temporary? And what might they point towards? So those are questions that I would like you to think while we go through the topic of value. And before we get started,
there was some, how do I want to word this?
The other day there was a tragedy in the world that has opened some eyes, whether you are political or not, left wing or right wing. It is always terrible to see a life being taken.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Charlie Kirk's life got taken.
And whether you're a Christian or non-Christian, he was a heavily Christian guy, and he was not afraid to like stand in front of people and pronounce the name of Jesus Christ, and he was not afraid to debate anybody. He studied a lot on different topics and knew a lot of things. So it's kind of ironic how this whole thing got started, because like we were talking about value and everything, and Charlie Kirk brought a lot of value to what he did, because like he understood the younger generation was the future of America. And so that's the reason he went out and he was trying to do what he did at college campuses and try to bring value and bring facts and statistics and all that stuff. So when they grew up and got older and became the next generation, they understood what was going on and actually had like a bug in the ear of like, hey, this is right, or hey, this is wrong, or oh, hey,
And he corrected a lot of like the errors of what were corrupted of minds that I don't know where they got their ideals from or ideology, my bad, ideologies from. But it's always sad to see him go. So, well, see anyone
yeah.
go. But our prayers and thoughts for Charlie Kirk's family.
The the sad part about this whole thing, like to me, what really struck a chord with me about this whole thing is his wife Erica and his two daughters were there, and when he got shot, his daughter tried running up to him, and Erica pulled her back before the actual blood started coming out of his neck. So, like to me as a father, that kind of like struck a chord because I don't care what you believe in, what your beliefs are. We can agree to disagree, but the fact that that day a family lost a brother, a father, a son, a husband, like that is just something it's just something hard to deal with, and the fact that his daughters were there and they witnessed it, that's even harder because they're going to have to live with that for a long time, and I could only imagine what Erica's going through right now if they're asking for dad. The next time you have a disagreement with someone, or if any of these thoughts go through your head, think about the impact it could actually cause. Think about like how valuable is that person to someone else. Maybe not so much you, but how valuable they are to, like I said, he has a brother, he has a son, he has a father, he has a husband. So think about that value.
Yes. All right. Now we will get started into the podcast.
Isaiah's got a backstory.
Yes, I have a backstory. So this originally started out to be a blog that I was gonna release over the summer, but I never finished it. Like I grabbed theologies and stuff, sermons, and was gathering all that, which I didn't even include in this script, but I may include it in the blog that comes out tomorrow for the podcast. So pay attention for that. But anyway, this whole idea started because I the city that I work at or in, I was working with like a big, well, a guy that owns a big company in the city, and like he knows a lot of the drama in the background and stuff. And so he was talking about, and well, my coworker too, he was having problems. He runs the racetrack in that town, and he was having problems with the with building permits and stuff. And so they were talking about how the city council is trying to buy back the land that's in the floodplain. So there's 100-year floodplain and you can't build. And so the state recommends that the city buys back the land, even though there's a bunch of people still living in that area. If the houses go up for sale, the city pretty much just buys it. And so I was like, instead of just tearing it down and leaving it for nothing, why not actually bring value to your community and plant like a rural garden or an urban garden and like fruit trees and grow food and stuff for people, and crops that you could sell cheaply, make money for the city, or give it, let other people run it. You could create jobs that way and everything else. So that was kind of where I was going with it, and it kind of turned into something bigger of like, what kind of value does your government bring to you, and what kind of value do you bring to other people around you? And that was where I really got bamboozled, and really instead of releasing it, I sat back and I really thought about this and observed it in life, you know
Yeah.
in your
So
own cities and state and world or nation.
so so I know the town you're talking about.
Yeah, the
And
town.
and the last I'll also pitch in here too is the last few years they have been tearing down abandoned houses and trying to clean up the town in a sense and make it look nice. And I have no problem with that. I respect that, because if you have old abandoned houses, they look run down. It makes a town look trashy. In these flood areas, there's still good, decent, fundamentally sound houses down there. Like, my idea too is, yeah, go ahead, like get a community garden in there, do something with that land that'll help benefit the city.
Mhm.
But another thing is like, they've been with them tearing down houses. Now there's a housing problem and they can't house people in this town or city, however you want to word it. So my idea is, why not look into moving those nice houses out of that area into a non-floodplain area, and then you can provide housing to someone else as well. And then you're not, because I understand there's a lot of money into moving a house. I get it. I mean, if they're gonna take these houses and destroy them because they're in floodplains, why not make the value of that house more valuable to someone else down the road?
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, they do offer land auction.
Oh, the land bank.
Yeah,
Is
there
that
we
what
go. The land bank. Thank you.
which
Which
that's a joke.
the city is still trying to figure out how everything works with that, which is why it's a joke. But I mean, hopefully they'll figure it out. So Levi has his own
Okay.
little backstory.
So this is actually ironic, because this whole week has kind of been ironic in a sense, because like, so a lot of you might not know this, but I've been in the Army National Guard for roughly 15 years now. And so last weekend was drill weekend, and we had a brief that was kind of along this topic. It was about like the army values and like what it's worth. So like I said, this whole week has been kind of ironic, because like with that briefing, and then we started talking about the topic of the town, and then Charlie Kirk bringing value to everybody else's life and trying to bring value to other people's lives, and the value that he brought to his family that's now no longer there. It kind of came full circle for this whole thing. So the little segment I have on this whole thing is from our little brief last weekend. Was our sense of value can come from the world or from God. In a man-made sense, worth is often measured by achievement, possessions, or status. Army values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage help individuals succeed and earn respect in society while providing an ethical guide. In a biblical sense, the same values redirect focus from worldly success to God-centered character, teaching faithfulness, love, selflessness, honesty, and trust in God's plan. Simply put, Army values bridge the gap between world recognition and eternal significance.
There you go. The only thing I'd like to add, because I completely spaced it. So this podcast was pretty much built to bring value. And that's why we have the name The Fruitful Three, is because we want to grow ourselves in the spirit and grow everyone else, whether you believe in the spirit or not, just becoming a better person all around, So that's all I wanted to add. We're going into man-made values. So number one, we have economic value. My definition is how much something is worth in terms of money, trade, or productivity.
And mine is very similar, which is the worth of a good or service measured by how much someone is willing to pay for it based on the benefits they expect to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Economists.
Yeah, there we go.
I got you, buddy.
It's late at night. Economists define economic value. That's where I got economic, bro. As the benefit of a good or service provides to a person, typically estimated by their willingness to pay distinct from market price.
So some examples are a $20 bill is still worth exactly $20 in trade. A farmer values a cow for its milk productivity and its resale price, which is the market value. A factory worker's hourly wage reflects their economic value in labor markets.
It's just how much you're worth.
Yeah.
It's money, basically.
This one's pretty
Whoa.
self-explanatory.
Money, yay. So think about a diamond ring. The raw stone might be worth $500, but after cutting, branding, and marketing, it can be sold for $5,000. This economic value in action, or that's economic value in action. Or you can take it as the iPhone, which most people say costs like $15 to $30, maybe $100 to make, and they sell it for $1,000. You know, I guess, you know, whatever. Money is money. Or you can take Levi as a mechanic and give him, I don't know, what are you worth?
What am I worth?
Yeah.
I'm probably worth more than what I get paid.
Yeah, me too, buddy. The whole purpose was for the joke.
I know.
Pretty much the world's mindset is you are what you earn, which if that's the case, then I ain't worth 2 dimes. That's the sad, hard truth. You'll always be underpaid unless you go your own way. I mean, so you have to believe in yourself and have faith in yourself and just do everything pretty much yourself. Now you can get help, but you better be paying your help what they're worth too. You know? So anyway, number 2 is status and social value. So my definition is worth based upon fame, power, appearance, and social position.
So my definition is value based on reputation, power, popularity, or how others perceive you. It's less about usefulness, more about prestige.
So we have some examples, like someone pays $1,000 for a pair of sneakers because celebrities wear them.
Jordans,
LeBrons, Lucas.
I say, what was it? American Eagle was a big one back in the day.
American Eagle is now going big again because of Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, but it's like you're wearing the high dollar brand clothes.
Gucci.
Got your
Louis Vuitton.
Gosh dang it, what's the watch I'm thinking of?
Designer Rolex.
There we go. I was thinking Rolls Royce, but I was like, that's a car. But I know I'm gotta be getting close.
It's pretty much just
speaking of Rolls Royce, next example before you get into yours, the next example is driving a luxury car. Even if it's not practical, it boosts your social standing.
Mm-hmm. And this is more on I'm trying to think of the word. It's not really branding itself. Well, it is the brand that you're buying, but it's like codes, you know, they don't really social life or like Apple is not security. Well, it used to be exclusivity. I am struggling with that word.
Exclusive.
Yeah, being exclusive. Now it's more about privacy. If you paid attention to their ads the last couple years, and it's just really selling a thought and not anything else. A blue check mark on social media makes people appear more credible.
Ever wonder why people stand in line for the latest iPhone, even if their old one still works? That's social value. Owning it makes you feel noticed.
So spending more money makes you feel noticed. Wow. Which is really a lie. I'm sorry. I'm really negative about this because like, yeah, I used to be this way because I used to wear nothing but Nikes and everything. But like the more I got older, the more I realized that what was the point, you know?
So I think in all honesty, I think everybody goes through this stage in their life because if you think about it, I'm gonna go back to like high school days, right? Or I mean junior high, however you want to word that. But it's like you're trying to keep up with the Joneses
Mm-hmm.
because like you have your popular kids and you want to be the cool cat. And so you go out and you buy like Nike or Adidas or you go buy American Eagle or whatever the name brands are nowadays in clothing, which I don't know. I can think of all the ones that were popular when I was growing up. But you go and buy all those and you want to fit in per se. And so you go do that, but at the end of it, all you're doing is you're acting
Mm-hmm.
basically as someone else and you're not being the true you.
Which I kind of dissed on Nike, but I'm not throwing Nike under the bus because when I got my first pair of Nikes, they were 10 times better than the Walmart shoes I were wearing. So I stuck with Nike because they were actually comfortable.
So speaking of that, but
We grew up poor in money but rich in faith.
yeah. So like we struggled financially, and so like we grew up with like your cheap Walmart clothes or like hand me downs and stuff like that. And here's the thing, like I understand that is not cool when it comes to high school and stuff like that. So you get picked on. And so then you try to go out and you work your ass off so you can afford brand name clothes. You're kind of acting in a sense because basically what you're doing is you're putting a shield over you and saying, "Oh yeah, look at me, I'm now rich." But deep
Mm,
down inside, you're still struggling to make ends meet.
flex culture. It'll ruin you.
That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah. I had that pop in my mind while we are going through this, but then it like flew out again. So the more you are seen, the more important you are. That's the world's mindset. So if someone sees you with a Rolex, oh wow, look at him. He must be rich. And honestly, if you go buy like a cheap $20 Rolex or not a Rolex, a watch from Walmart, that can even increase your worth like or looks just by having a watch. Even they don't need to know that it's $20, but that's just something to sit on. You don't always have to have the highest quality stuff or the highest money worth stuff.
So I was watching a video, kind of along that topic. I was watching a video earlier this week, and they were talking about how like the poor people or lower middle class people always like dress to impress,
Mm,
and they basically buy the designer clothes, they buy like the name brand stuff because they want to look cool. But like the people that actually have money, they're not worried about designer clothes, they're not worried about this and that. They go, basically if it's a nice suit, it's a nice suit, they just go and buy it. And so that's the funny part is like if you're the lower to middle class people want to look rich, and so they try so hard to look rich when deep down inside they're poor. Which then you talk about rich guys and they don't even care what they wear because they're comfortable in their own skin and they're comfortable with what they wear, they're comfortable with how they present themselves already. They don't gotta hide behind a mask.
hmm Um, but if you do want to look good and you want to flex, go buy some iced entertainment merch. Just saying,
You
you'll
had
look
you
good.
had to drop that, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to. Anyway, we're gonna move on to intellectual. Oh my goodness.
Intellectual.
Yeah, thank you again. Value. I cannot speak tonight. My
I
goodness.
got you on rebounds.
Yeah. Good thing I have a teammate down the court I can trust. So my definition is it's measured by knowledge, degrees, or mental ability.
So my definition is very similar. It's worth based on knowledge, learning, or mental ability. It's tied to education, ideas, and problem solving.
Examples would be a PhD has intellectual value that can also translate into higher income. A scientist's groundbreaking discovery may not have immediate economic payoff, but it has a high intellectual worth. Reading books expands intellectual value without costing much.
Okay, so before we continue,
Mhm.
I have to go back to like the whole Charlie Kirk thing because so this was one topic that a lot of people argued with Charlie Kirk and disagreed with Charlie Kirk on because he was not one, he never went to college and he was sold that college was a scam,
Mhm.
which in a sense I can understand where he comes from because he made a lot of valid points. And there's a lot of people out there that I know that went to college and they have a worthless degree
Mhm.
that they will never ever use in their entire life, and they spent like 4 years to get it. So I understand Charlie's deal on this. Now I know Charlie went to a lot of college campuses, and I know he debated a lot of college kids. Now if you watch any of his debates, there's one out there where he debates a kid and the kid goes, well, how are you more intelligent than I am because I'm going to college and I'm in this degree and I'm at this special university and so on and so forth. And Charlie goes, anybody can pick up a book, anybody can study something. You don't have to go to college to be smart on a topic. All you got to do is just start studying the topic and go through everything, and that's how you get smart in that topic. And obviously Charlie was a guy who read a lot of books, was very intelligent because I mean if you watch any of his videos, he could basically free spit anything, like free spit an answer that anybody would ask him.
Mhm.
So you know, like I said, and the other thing too is so like colleges, like Isaiah and I talked about this earlier about like the whole trades. Like we had a topic on this a while back about trades and how a lot of people don't want to go to trade school anymore. I would heavily encourage you to look into trade schools because there are well, one, you don't even have to go to college for a trade school. There's internship programs out there for trade jobs. So you can get hired on at like base pay, whatever base pay is, minimum wage, whatever that is anymore these days. And then you do an internship program, and basically you get they give you a hired. So like you could take me for example, like they give me a master tech, and I'd fall under that master tech. I'd learn from that master tech. Isaiah, on the other hand, he would have like somebody who's got several years of experience in construction. Basically he would be their right hand man and learn everything from them. So
Apprentice.
that works. Yeah, that's another word for it too. So the deal is you don't have to go to a 4, 5, 6 year college, whatever there is, to make it rich. I mean, the deal is there's always going to be a need for a mechanic. There's always going to be a need for a plumber, construction, you name it. Not maybe not so much for I don't know. Like I mean I know doctors are higher up, but what I'm trying to think of, what like psychology, there's like psychology majors out there. There's theater stuff out there, which I mean if that's your passion, then go ahead and go for it. But
Mhm.
I know and I can't think of it all of them off of the top of my head.
You can go and get a PhD in theology for free. I did find that out. So there you go. I know that for sure.
See, it's crazy too. You can get a coach. So I can speak from personal experience because I did it. You can go and get a coaching degree through a local high school. Like if you want to like coach some sport, go talk to a local high school, and you can go and do online classes And I mean, yeah, you pay a little bit for the classes, but basically if it's through a high school, it's free.
So think about how Einstein's theories reshaped the world. His intellectual value far outweighed his paycheck. I mean, that was another example. I think you're supposed to indent that a little bit. Oh well.
Probably. My bad.
Oh well. Anyway, that is intellectual value. I mean, yeah, understanding. As you can see, oh my goodness. As you can see, I have my bookshelf here full of books because I try to be intellectual ish and bring value that I learned from those books to the table.
I will tell you is I am not probably for some odd reason I've never been a book guy. But I can tell you is if you go through my search history, there's a bunch of YouTube videos on how to do this or how this works or like the how-to videos, and I can watch those videos and figure stuff out that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's like what, 5 different things you learn from. And the funny thing is I can learn from all 5 of them. Sometimes I understand it better through a how-to video than reading it, and sometimes I learn it better from reading it. And sometimes I learn more from visual than doing it, and sometimes I learn more from doing it than visual. It's all just around. So anyway, the world's mindset is smarter people are more valuable, which is wrong in a sense.
I was trying to figure out how to word that because
I mean, man-made. Man-made, it is valuable, but it depends on who you impact the most.
I was gonna say smarter. So what'd that say? Smarter people are more valuable.
Yeah.
So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but it kind of all depends on who thinks you are the most valuable.
Mhm.
Like I can tell you is I know what's the saying I'm trying to think of, the you can be the jack of many trades but the master of none. So you
But that quote does go on longer. I don't remember the final part, but everyone
yeah.
just ends it there and it's like, "Ha, you're a loser," but it actually is a positive at the ending.
But going off of that statement is there's a lot of people that know a lot of things, but they're not technically a master in one specific field. So you got to look at it from that standpoint too. Is like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know how to build houses and stuff like that, but Isaiah's more of a master than I am. I mean, it's you know what I mean? I could go into your field and know, like, have an idea of what to do, but like at the end of it is I probably will never make what you make or be as valuable in that field as you are.
And that's why you are a better mechanic. I can tell you where it's coming from and what sounds it's making, and you solve it. That's it. Next up, we have utility value. My definition is how useful or productive someone or something is.
Mine is very similar. It's the value of something based on how useful it is in solving problems or making life easier.
And of course, a military man would put a Swiss Army's knife is valued for versatility. A reliable pickup truck prized for hauling, not looks.
Well, that's small town kid life right there.
And duct tape, cheap but useful in countless situations. Except, I will tell you, it is not waterproof. So don't even try to attempt it. We had a professional fire guy on the job use duct tape to try to water seal his cuts. What was even and it leaked because we got like 2 inches of rain that weekend. It leaked. We had to go and fix it. So yeah, there's
You can definitely tell I wrote those examples.
yeah. I was gonna bring up a knife and then I saw a Swiss Army knife and I was like, well, you know what? I guess that works. So it's the reason you might choose an old Toyota over a shiny sports car. The Toyota simply gets the job done. That's right. I got a 97 Chevy truck. It's great. It works just fine. It gets me to A and B.
So here's a funny part. Well, I won't say funny, but Dad and I were or my dad, our dad, I should say, we were talking the other day about our mom's vehicle. And the sad part is vehicles nowadays don't last as long as what they used to. They don't have the value, they don't have the longevity value.
And they don't even have the creativity.
So like think about that too is like we're talking about like you gotta have the designer clothes. You don't always need something new. I mean, if you drive, like Isaiah said, if you drive around a 30-year-old truck or a 30-year-old car, as long as it gets the job done, that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you that 30-year-old car is gonna last longer than anything built these days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So world's mindset is if you are not productive, you are not valuable, which is so American. So American.
I still want to know, how do lazy people somehow still have jobs, yet they get paid about the same as some of us do?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Because haven't you noticed that? How it's like, it seems like it's never like you bust your butt for some company or a business, and somehow it seems like they'll never let that one low hanging fruit go, and you're always doing their work for them.
So next up, we have aesthetic value. My definition is worth based on how something looks or feels.
My definition is value based on beauty, design, or sensory appeal. It's about how something looks, feels, or inspires emotion.
So we, of course, like art inspires all of us. A painting of Van Gogh has aesthetic value beyond its canvas cost. Architecture like the Eiffel Tower, which was sold at one point in time by a con artist for its beauty and symbolism. A handcrafted guitar is prized not only for sound, but its visual design. Love it. That's why people pay thousands for artwork they never use. Its beauty in itself is the value. Pay thousands for artwork because it's a tax write-off, if you didn't know that. Tax write-off and all the beautiful stuff. So the world's mindset is beautiful things and people are more desirable. Other than this, makeup, I will go into makeup. Most people know me that I am highly against makeup.
Why? Because it can make a 2 look like a 10?
Yes. I like natural beauty a lot more. If I can tell you have natural beauty, you have a higher ranking in my ranks, you know? So anyway, that's all I had to say.
So while we're on that topic, watch out on people's profile accounts now too, because they got this thing called filters.
Yeah, filters and AI and all sorts of fun stuff. Next up, we have achievement value. My definition is based on what you've done or accomplished.
My definition is value tied to accomplishments, milestones, or personal victories. It's about what you've done, not just what you own.
So think about breaking a record in your sporting events that you do, or like Olympic gold medals represent years of discipline.
Represent.
Yeah, there we go. My goodness. A diploma on the wall symbolizes effort and success. Suckies. Someone running their first marathon treasures the medal more than its material worth. It's the story behind the trophy that makes it priceless. Every sacrifice leading up to that moment. Your worth is your wins. Yeah. Anything you like to add to that one?
Not really. That was pretty self-explanatory.
Good deal. Next up we got influence value.
Oh my gosh, Becky.
How much impact or reach you have?
The ability to sway opinions, inspire action, or shape decisions. Influence itself becomes a kind of currency.
So a social media influencer gets free products because their followers trust them. A pastor or teacher guiding hundreds of people carries influence value. Martin Luther King Jr. speeches carried influence that reshaped history. And now we can put
Charlie.
rest in peace, Charlie Kirk in there.
Which is
So,
it was amazing of how many like comparisons you saw between Martin Luther King and Charlie Kirk week,
mhm,
which I never actually thought of that until I
mhm.
saw those articles.
So influence is the new gold. Brands pay millions not for the product, but for the voices that make people care about it. World's mindset, the more people you control, the more valuable you are,
So
which is why America tries to control you, or I should say governments in general.
I was gonna say this is one of those harsh topics where really watch what you see on the media or in TV or anything like that because they are like Isaiah just said, the worldview is the more people you control. So like they're trying to
So I'm trying to influence you on buying my merch because it'll make you look more valuable.
see. And the sad part is like I understand like we bring up Charlie Kirk a lot, but
Mm,
like the deal is I read an article earlier this week. Like Charlie Kirk, like the American somebody's trying to control us because like Charlie Kirk wasn't afraid of freedom of speech.
mm.
And he was willing to talk to anybody about any topic, and he was a big rights person on freedom of speech. And he made a comment of when people take your freedom of speech, that's when our country's going to fall. And the fact that someone decided to shoot him for the fact that he was just executing his right of freedom of speech is, are they trying to control us too, and now we're going to live in fear of what we say because we could possibly be the next.
Well, like CNN, they fired, I think it's CNN, they fired one of their hosts because they said mocked something of Charlie Kirk's. Also, a DC comic writer that was transgender just got released because she basically said, I hope the bullet is okay after going through his neck,
there was
which is BS.
there was a, and I don't know if it was a CNN reporter or which reporter it was, but there's a reporter that got fired because they basically on live TV they thank God for killing Charlie Kirk during a live news report during the whole thing. And to me that is sickening
Mm,
because whether you agree with us or them or whatever, we're all the same at the end of the day. We all
mm.
got family members. We we all got loved ones back home. Like you don't know what our, I mean, we're just as valuable as you are.
Moving on to possession based value. My definition is worth based on what you own.
Mine is very similar, but a little bit more in depth. Value tied to ownership, often linked to rarity, scarcity, or exclusivity.
So, owning a rare Pokemon card is worth thousands. A first edition book prize for its rarity, not readability. Collectors paying millions for Michael Jordan's game worn shoes. Like old cars are worth much. The doll value or the doll market, as I found out, has decreased dramatically because of the Annabelle movie. And I only know that because my coworker's mother died and she was a doll collector. I do not collect dolls, nor do I really care about dolls.
So the funny part is that old baseball card in your attic might have more possession based value than your car.
Yep.
So I mean that's pretty self-explanatory. There might be something sitting in your attic that you might just think is junk, but that thing could actually be worth more than what you actually think it is.
So the world's mindset is net worth versus or equals self worth. I say self worth is more than net worth, but I guess whatever the world wants to believe in. And finally, we have cultural and national value, which is basically politics and ethnicity, nationality, or tradition.
My definition is worth derived from heritage, tradition, or shared identity. It's less about personal gain, more about collective meaning.
So the American flag valued as a national symbol. LOL, traditional foods. What is LOL doing there?
I don't know.
Like grandma's recipe carrying cultural significance. Indigenous artifacts preserved as treasures, even if they aren't useful.
Sorry, I had a type. I must have had a typo error. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This is what happens when I allow Levi to put his own notes in instead of me doing it.
I texted you and said you could revise and edit this as you wish.
And the funny part is I read through this one because I was thinking about adding the Charlie Kirk to this one, and I just completely spaced the LOL.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, that's why tearing down a historic statue sparks outrage. It's not about some stone or metal, it's cultural value. The world's mindset, you're more valuable if you're from the right culture. And I say that's wrong. You're just truly just valuable because, everyone has value.
So one quick thing on this whole, like, since that says like tearing down historic statues. A few years ago, there was a big uproar about Confederate statues in the South and how it proclaimed racism and all this other horrible events that happened in our country or in our history, the history of our country. Um my thought on that is a nation without a history is not a nation at all. So even though you might not like that statue, it's there for a reason to let you know, like, hey, this is how far we've come. This is where we started. This is where we're at now.
And I may talk a lot of trash on my nation. I will say that. That's just, I'm not really political. It's more my religion that I do it, even though part of my religion is also not talking trash. So Levi has a little speech before we go into biblical value.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, I was at drill last weekend. We also had a brief on suicide prevention. So on average, 22 soldiers commit suicide a day. So before we get into this next topic, I just want to say that all of your lives are important, and it doesn't matter what the world thinks or what they value or how they value you. You are valuable. If you're not feeling it right now, that's fine, but just know you are valuable, and if you need to talk to someone, feel free to reach out to one of us. Like, the reason I wanted to put this in here as we go into this is because we talked about like the man-made, and there's a lot of stress to, like I mentioned, keeping up with the Joneses. There is a lot of stress and anxiety and depression because you can see your neighbor buy a brand new car you can't afford, and you can only afford like a 30-year-old car, and it makes you feel horrible, and so you get stressed out because you want that lifestyle, but you are so much more valuable than what you think. And we're going to get into like the biblical part of this and more of like the spiritual worth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought it was a good bridge between the two because like I said, I understand you try to keep up with the Joneses, and it just makes you feel horrible, and then you're like, well, I can't live this life anymore. So don't be afraid to like hit us up on social media if you have to. I'd be willing to do my best to talk to you if I have to, or try to point you in the right direction. I mean, if you got somebody else out there that you feel free, then use them.
Mm-hmm.
But
so disclaimer, I said biblical value, but this is more of like, I don't care what you believe in, it's spiritual. I know you threw Bible verses in here, which is fine. Well, like, whether you believe in religion or you're atheist or whatever you want to classify yourself as, there is still value and key takeaways to become a better person from these.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there.
It's more along the lines of like there's personal value,
Hmm.
and then there's like value of what people think you should be worth, or
Hmm.
like we can talk about personal value being like how valuable you are to like your family, and then the like man-made value or like the worldly value is like how do you keep up with the Joneses? Like, do you have the expensive car? Do you have the expensive lifestyle? Do you
Hmm.
like stuff along those lines?
So anyway, we're gonna kick it off with our first one, which is intrinsic value or human worth value. My definition is human life has inherent worth regardless of status, wealth, or ability.
My definition is every human has an oh, it's very similar. Every human has inherent worth simply by being created in God's image. Their value is not earned or contingent on status, ability, or productivity.
The concept of intrinsic human value is rooted in the doctrine of imagino die, that humans are created in God's images and therefore hold inestimable of irrevocable.
Irrevocable.
There we go. Worth. My goodness, Levi. Choose some different words, man.
Sorry, I kind of did research on this and just kind of
Copy and pasted. Yeah. You
so the Bible verse that I chose was Genesis 1 verse 27. So God created man in his image. We are not defined by achievements, prosperity, or approval, but by the simple fact that we bear God's image. This truth gives us hope, dignity, and purpose to every life, regardless of circumstances.
hmm Yes. Which I think I created a blog about, kind of based off of that. I don't remember. I don't know if I posted it or not, or if I said, maybe this is too much. I don't know. We're gonna move on to moral and ethical values. My definition is God values character, righteousness, and obedience.
So, my definition is very, very similar. God values character, righteousness, and obedience, not merely actions, but the heart behind them.
Being a good person, that's the Bible emphasizes that true worth is measured by inner integrity and faithful obedience to God's standards. You can also find that in all the other religions other than the word God standards or the two words of God standards.
So, Galatians 3, verse 28, there is neither Jew nor Greek, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. In God's kingdom, moral value transcends cultural, ethnic, or social barriers. Our character, humble, righteous, obedient, unites us before Him. Let your obedience reflect His unity and grace in you.
And it's kind of funny. Most people are very, very bad at this one because they'll be all nice and friendly, especially in the Midwest. All nice and friendly, but as soon as you turn your back, they start talking trash heavily, man. If you're going to talk trash, just talk trash to my face, you know?
A lot of people, or I should say, a lot of Christians get this heavily mixed up because they think that you need to be good. And as Led Zeppelin once said, by her stairway to heaven. And that's what people think you need to do, is be a good person, be a disciple. Unfortunately, there is a difference between a believer and a disciple. So, discipleship, you can be a disciple all you want, but that's not going to get you into heaven. Now, if you are a believer and you believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins, and you believe that with all your heart, that is what's going to get you into heaven. Don't let this get Don't let the worldly views mix that together.
Yes. All right, moving on to spiritual value. My definition is spiritual disciplines, faith, and wisdom are more valuable than material things.
My definition is spiritual pursuits, faith, wisdom, disciplines are more valuable than material wealth or temporary pleasures. So a little note is Jesus reminds us that God provides for creation. Worry over earthly needs distracts from seeking his kingdom first.
I'd like to add, I know you have your Bible verse, but I'd also like to add, because I had this in the original notes when I was brainstorming the blog, Jesus flipping the table.
Yep.
This was a big part of it, was that he was trying to show, like, yes, he was upset that money, they made the temple basically a money shelter.
Basically, they turned, long story short is basically they turned the church into a business. I mean, back then it was the temple, but they basically turned the church into a business, and that's not how the church is supposed to function.
And so Jesus was mad, flipped the tables, and questioned what their worth was, what their value was, because he was mad.
Yep.
And Levi added Matthew 6:26, are you not much more valuable than they, the birds? If God loves and cares for birds, how much more will he care for you? Let your heart invest in spiritual treasures where worry fades and faith grows. And a faith the size of a mustard seed will move a mountain.
Oh.
And anything can be achieved. This is in the same verse too. Anything is achievable through prayer and fasting. But most Bibles leave that part out,
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything you'd like to add to that one?
So I was trying to think of the verse, but I can't think of the verse in my head. But it's where if you throw a seed,
Oh, the sow, you throw it on the rocks, or
yeah, and how it doesn't really grow, and then
you throw it in the weeds, and the weeds trample it pretty much, and then the one that has good soil gets prosperous 100-fold. Next, we got economic and material value. Wealth should be handled wisely and not worshipped.
So my definition is wealth and possessions are meant to be stewarded wisely, not idolized or treated as ultimate security. So Jesus contrasts earthly gain with eternal loss, valuing the soul over worldly profit.
And like a good example of this is Solomon asking for wisdom instead of money, having the wanting knowledge over wisdom or money.
So before we get into the whole Bible verse here, so God may not always give you if you ask for wisdom like Solomon did, God's not just going to give you wisdom. He's going to give you opportunities throughout your life to gain wisdom. So be very just kind of keep that in mind when you're praying for things, because you may want wisdom like that or overnight, but God's not going to do that. He's going to keep giving you opportunities, and if you keep missing those opportunities, eventually he's going to stop answering your prayers.
Yes. Or, Solomon, I mean, he was rewarded through a dream, a vision, to have wisdom. So, I mean, it kind of differs for us than Solomon, but you get the gist. Levi picked out where
I think we're at Matthew 16:26.
Okay, I saw 6:26 was up here, and then that's 16:26 down here, and I was like, "Are we doing the same verse again?" But no, it's Matthew 16:26. For what will it profit if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Which is, that's why, Jesus denied the devil the kingdoms of earth, because, forfeits his soul for that, Earthly wealth fades, the soul's destiny matters most. Let your priorities reflect heavenly values, not earthly accumulation.
So the other one that I thought of using too is like store up your treasures in heaven and not on earth.
Mm,
Because when you die, you can't take your earthly things with you. What I mean, whether you believe whether you believe there's an afterlife or not an afterlife, if you don't believe in an afterlife, you're getting put in a casket no matter what, or you're
mm,
getting cremated,
mm.
or
You're getting put in the ground some way, somehow.
yeah. I was gonna say you're because I think cremation and burials are the only two forms of.
I think there's a third one,
I was
but
gonna say as I thought there was a third, but I can't think of it right now.
yeah.
But either way, you're not gonna be able to. Once you're dead, you're dead. You're not gonna be able to take anything with you. So
Mm.
that's why.
And when like people make fun of me for being like broke or something, or like something not taking off that I try to do, I'm always like, oh, I'm more worried about building a 3-story mansion in heaven than on earth anyway, you know?
So one thing Pastor Paul Carpenter would always mention is like you can either like I was talking about like like believers and disciples, right? So here's the difference: is like believers, you're still gonna get in heaven. But imagine this: is if you're a believer and you go throughout life, basically like resisting God, but you believe deep down in your soul or your heart that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins, you're gonna get into heaven. But at the end of it, you're basically gonna be a shoe shiner in
Mm,
heaven. Now, you could become a believer. You can let Jesus change your heart, change your mind, change who you are, and you start building up your rewards in heaven, and God's going to put you at a higher seat. You could be, I want to say, the king of the table, or the head of a table, and have people below you because you did what God wanted you to do and you lived out your life according to what God had in store for you.
mm,
So think of it that way, because like I said, either way, you're not going to take what you. Because here's the funny part: you could be a believer and you could have the fanciest car, you could have the best life here on earth. But what happens when you die and you're a shoe shiner up in heaven, and you just literally went from the richest of the richest here on earth to the lowest of the low in heaven?
which is why I always like, and the Gospels, it's like Jesus says the poor and the broken will be awarded to the kingdom of God first,
Yeah.
then the rich. And I'm like, wow. Wow.
Yep.
All right. We are on to redemptive value. God brings value from pain, purpose, and from trial.
So mine's very similar. God brings purpose and value out of suffering, sorrow, and trials. So scripture promises that God can transform hardship into good for those who love him.
I've reflected a lot about my life and the times where I've been at my lowest of lows. Like looking back at them now, it was building something greater, you know. And I know at one point there was a time where I did curse God because of something, but now I look back and what God has given me for that, or what purpose road he put me on to get me to where I am now. I'm like, holy cow.
So, okay. So speaking of that, like I am not afraid to talk about this topic. Like, yes, it still stings a little bit of how everything went down that night, but I know in the end everything happened for a reason. Like, I'll be honest with you, the reason it stings is because of how the cop wrote his report that night of my DUI, and I am not fond of how that got written because it made him look more superior and it made me look like trashy, right?
Mm,
Like I did not like how that was written, but at the end of it, there's a reason that God gave me or allowed, or no, I wouldn't say gave, but there's a reason God allowed my DUI to happen. Like I would not be no, not once in my life would I ever have thought I'd be running a nonprofit helping people do mechanic work. Like, I was 100% sold I was going to be running a business and everything else. And I think that was God's way of giving me a reality check. Granted, it took me about 8 years to figure it out. Well, 6 years later, 2017 to
8 years.
it would have been almost 8 years because I started at 2 years. Well, yeah,
It happens. So, it goes back to saying it's who you are, not who you were, And most people, especially in the Midwest, forget about that because they'll still track on something that happened 10 years ago and be like, oh, I don't like that person because, they did this 10 years ago. And it's like 10 years was a long time. Now, if they screw up, then you have the right to say it. But if they're fine, if they look like they're working on it, then you can be proud of them, Romans 8:28, in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. Pain doesn't define you. God repurposes it for mercy, growth, and testimony. Trust that he makes all things work toward his loving purpose. Now we go on to relational value. Love, forgiveness, and community are divine priorities.
My definition is God prioritizes love, forgiveness, and community as core to his kingdom. So I did the whole kind of like this was a quotation thing because our deals were kind of similar, right? So I thought this was like a side note of, since they were similar, is like, what is love?
Corinthians 13, 7? Something through
I know.
7.
I was actually
That's what love is. I also wrote a blog about that too. So, you're welcome to read that too. It's all on Iced Entertainment. Also something that like isn't on here that I really feel should be on here. I mean, it follows pretty much all of this, but compassion. Like the biggest portion of the New Testament is compassion. If you think about the Old Testament, it's more about discipline and consequences. And the New Testament is like compassion.
I mean, since we're on the topic of what is love,
read what is love.
So 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4-8. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away.
So even though relational value is not explicitly quoted, biblical teachings consistently emphasize the importance of relationships, encouraging believers to love one another, extend forgiveness, and carry out helping each other's burdens.
So the Bible verse I chose is 1 Corinthians 6, verse 20. For you were bought with a price. Glorify God in your body and spirit. You're treasured, and so is the relationship God offers with you. Respond by extending grace, forgiveness, and love as reflections of his sacrificial worth. So in other words, we can go to John 3:16 too. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. So that's kind of why I thought about that is like God loved us so much that he is willing to come to earth and sacrifice himself. Like he came to earth in human form and was willing to sacrifice himself on the cross to save us all.
Hmm.
The other way you could look at that is the relationship in the church with the church is Jesus's bride, if you want to go that route too.
Next up, we have conventional value. Commitments and covenants have sacred worth.
So my definition was commitments and covenants between God and humanity are among people are sacred and binding. While not directly shown in many sources, the Bible underscores God's faithfulness to his covenants and expects ours to be honored.
So if you make a promise, keep a promise, you know? I try to. I mean, there are some promises I have broken, but I am at like a 90%, I will say, for keeping promises. Because if I promise something, I'm actually gonna promise something, you know?
See, it's not like, and even then is like if you make a promise, eventually someone's gonna stop trusting you.
Hmm.
Because like if you say, "Oh, I promise I'll do this," yeah, they'll probably let the first few slide, but by the time you probably get to about the fifth promise, it's gonna they're gonna stop asking you for things or to do things, and
Levi picked out Luke 16:10. Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. And whoever is unrighteous in very little is also unrighteous in much.
the other one I chose was Matthew 5 verse 37. But let your yes be yes and your no no. Anything more than this comes from the evil one.
So you ask for something and someone stutters like, maybe, I guess that's the evil one. And typically my I guess or maybe is typically a yes. To our
So,
you
you
want to
missed.
add?
I was gonna say we forgot that one. A covenant is not a contract; it is a sacred bond held in God's sight. Let your yes mean yes and no mean no. And your faithfulness honors Him.
Mhm.
So, like, there was several, like in the Old Testament, there was several covenants that God put together. One of the best ones is the Ten Commandments. The backstory on the Ten Commandments was for you to understand that you could not get to heaven by following the Ten Commandments and you needed a Lord and Savior. Like a lot of that's why it says they're not contracts, because a lot of God's covenants were foreshadowing we're foreshadowing the New Testament of, hey, I'm going to make a covenant here and I'm going to fulfill that when I send myself, or when I send my son, however you want to word that, send my son Jesus Christ to die on the cross, and all of my covenants are going to get fulfilled on that cross.
Next up, we have sacrificial value. You show your true value by what you are willing to give up for God or for others.
All right, so mine is pretty much similar except for worded a little differently. A true value is revealed through what you're willing to give up for God or others.
So real quick, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna throw dad out there. He gave up a lot of his time and dreams and everything to put food on the table for us and to keep mom in business for her dreams.
Yeah.
So he made an ultimate sacrificial value right there.
The biggest one is a few years ago. There was a storm that rolled through, damaged our parents or our moms. Granted, our parents own it, but more mom runs the show, and she's there full time. But damaged the family business, and dad took money out of. He had money saved back, and he also had some inheritance money too, and it was saved back for retirement, and he was willing to dive into that money to rebuild the family business. And so, like, some things you just got to make sacrifices for. I'll be honest with you, I got out for a year. out of the guard for a year because I was tired of the military life. And after a year, they offered me a decent bonus to get back in. And I never used my GI Bill. So my daughter has a GI Bill for. I mean, it was that was a sacrifice that I had to make because I was trying to put my family in a better position than what we were currently in at the time.
Mhm.
And I was trying to look out for my daughter's future too.
So Levi picked out Matthew 20:28 to give his life as a ransom for many, talking about Jesus. We measure love not in words but in sacrifice. Christ showed us the ultimate value in giving himself. May your life reflect the same generosity, which is also compassion right there. Being compassionate with one another. Anything you'd like to add to that one?
Nope.
Okay, next up, kingdom value. Heavenly values override earthly status.
So my definition is heavenly values, justice, mercy, humility, fully outweigh any earthly status or prestige. Jesus' teachings in Matthew 6 show the
Ephemeral.
There we go. See, now I'm struggling with words. Nature of earthly concerns and point us to eternal worth.
Matthew 6:26, shall he not
6:30.
Oh my goodness. We had 6:26 earlier. 6:30, shall he not much more clothe you, O you little faith, you of little faith? Earthly anxiety fades in the light of God's kingdom. He cares more for you than even the flowers of the field. Seek his realm, it alone endures. Which is also crazy. I started writing a blog on nakedness, right? I don't even know if I released it or not. I might have tied it into with lust when I released the blog of lust, which I gotta go back and edit that one. But anyway, the fact that Adam and Eve sinned because they were both naked, and they ate the fruit and they became aware of the nakedness and they felt uncomfortable. And the fact that God was willing to clothe them after this undeniable sin was just crazy to me, how he has so much love and compassion for us. He did discipline in us and with the consequences, but he still showed love and mercy for humankind, which is also a theology that the devil is always trying to outweigh the balance of justice and mercy. But in the end, God always has that bigger plan that balances it back out with mercy than justice.
God is always one. See, here's the thing. What a lot of people fail to realize is the devil, or Lucifer himself, was an angel of God before he fell from heaven and took other angels with him. The sad part, like, I wouldn't say the sad part, but I wouldn't say sad, but it's like the sad part of the whole thing is like Lucifer thinks he can outsmart God. It's like, here's the thing. The person who created you, you're never going to be able to outsmart. So God's always got one step ahead of the devil. And no matter how much Lucifer tries, he's never going to have that one up.
So I did read that, didn't I? Earthly anxiety fades in the lights of God's kingdom. He cares more about you than even the flowers of the field. Yeah. Seek his realm, it alone endures.
All right. So
we have
so there's a lot of things that we discussed in here. So I put a summary in this whole thing to kind of just summarize what we all went through in a brief short paragraph. So in summary, we discussed the comparison of man-made value and biblical/spiritual value, which highlights two very different ways of defining worth. Man-made value is based on money, status, knowledge, usefulness, beauty, achievements, influence, possessions, and culture. Biblical or spiritual value, however, declares every person has worth as God's image bearer with true value found in faith, character, love, sacrifice, and God's eternal kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I also want to point out I believe we spent more time on man-made values than biblical values. That's because we live them every single day. We do try to live biblical values every single day. But as we progress, we are learning. And there is a beautiful, beautiful thing in the Bible that says, well, it doesn't say it. You have to take it out of the context. You have to learn to love, which is just crazy. So, I mean, we're still learning stuff of the Bible and growing in our spiritual faith, growing our vineyards, our fruits to our tree. There we go. So that's just wanted to let you know we did go on insight of some other ones or some of the biblical ones, spiritual ones.
Also, I was going to say this is we covered we had a very short time, and so we covered a lot in this topic. If there is anything you want us to break down more, I mean, we will have a few pastors on later on down the road. We have a couple people who are more, like I said, we have pastors or people who are more specialized in these fields, maybe not so much pastors, but we have friends and family members that we are considering getting on that are probably more knowledgeable in this field than what we are. If you would like them to break down one of these topics even more because you have questions about them or you want to learn more, comment that below and we will do our best to find somebody and make a segment on it.
This whole point is so the theme this year is value and what value can bring. So pretty much this is just the building blocks to the whole season. So we'll cover these topics more and more as we go down the line. So we'll get more in depth on it too, which is what Levi pretty much said. But I wanted to throw my own words.
He just wanted to hear himself talk.
Yeah, I just love myself talking.
Nope.
Okay, we are rolling out with the outro. Oh my goodness. Okay. That's all for today's episode of the Fruitful 3 Show. We hope this conversation on value gave you a fresh perspective on something you can carry in your own life. And hopefully it will help you start growing some fruits on your tree. Remember, living faithfully starts with recognizing what truly matters. Also, check out the merch that is on the screen right now. That's at icentertainment.net/drip. You can also check out all my blogs. I did mention a lot of blogs today that I have written. I didn't realize I wrote that much on value, but I have, I guess. Thanks for listening. Peace, love, happiness, and unity, and we'll see you next time.
Later.